My name is Leilani Moten. I'm in the senior division. I will be doing an individual performance for you all. Post-Reconstruction, America was characterized by racial discrimination and deep prejudice. In the environment, African American women created groups such as the National Association of Colored Women, and they dedicated their lives to lifting the African American race economically, morally, politically, and socially. They explored knowledge of civil and political rights to secure awareness. NACW's involvement in the social, political, and academic success of Black women was shown by their exchange of knowledge through organizing schools, book clubs, financial aid, and emotional support groups. Leaders such as Mary Church Terrell and Fannie B. Williams encountered prejudices from both white men and women. Today, I am playing the role of Mary Church Terrell in order to convey her life as a model for the association and African American women. I am giving a speech to Oberlin College, the college that she is an alumni for. I'm elated to be here today, 40 years after graduating from Oberlin. College for me was inevitable. As soon as I was able to talk, I became aware of the importance of education, thanks to my mother and father. At the young age of 6 years old, I began exploring education when I went to Antoch College Model School in Ohio. Their risk in sending their 6-year-old daughter away to gain the best education is what raised me to be the ambitious, respectable old woman you are honoring today. As I thank them every day for that, education was the most important thing to me, and it was an escape from the cruelty of racism all around me. At Oberlin, next to my white male classmates, I was judged and encountered racism. I can recall one afternoon sitting in class feeling a sharp edge poking against my back. I suppose a pencil. I turned around and saw it was one of my classmates, Jack, a white boy no older than me. He looked me in the eye and said, "What you looking at, nigger?" This wasn't the first time I've heard this word, but it was at my own expense. I asked him to stop poking me and to please call me by my name. He paused with a crooked grin. "I did call you by your name." Jack had angered me. Being the only Black person in my class, I felt I had to suck it up and disregard the comment, for I knew no one would punish Jack, and I was warned by my parents not to be tempted. For I was Black, I had to drink from the Negro water fountain. I had to use the stall in the Negro bathroom. Jim Crow laws as these prohibited any sense of equality with my white classmates and I. It was a permanent mark that reminded them and I every day that I was supposedly inferior. Though my race had been freed from slavery years ago, we were still fighting for our rights and still very segregated from white people. I recall around that time reading an article about Homer Plessy and the Plessy versus Ferguson trial, which was happening where such freedoms like riding the train were difficult because of such Jim Crow laws. All under the doctrine of separate but equal. I graduated from Oberlin with my bachelor's in 1884 and master's in 1888. I encountered a taste of colored woman prejudice and the false notions of Black women and their education when I was interviewed for a job. A wealthy woman who wanted a young, intelligent girl to read aloud to her, write letters to her, and act in the capacity of a secretary. After my interview, just as I was leaving, one woman, practically engaged me, said, "I observe you are quite swarthy. You speak English too well to be a foreigner, unless you were born in the United States. What is your nationality?" "I am a colored girl." If I had told her I was gorilla in a human form, she could not have been more greatly shocked. Never before in her life had she come in contact with an educated colored girl, she said. She didn't really know there were any in the world. While she had no prejudice against colored people, her herself had white servants and was certain they would leave if she hired me. Thus, I did not get the job. Today, I am proud to look at every one of you and know that you have met an educated colored girl, or are one. For they should not come far and wide. I'm alongside Madam T.J. Walker, Mary McLeod Bethune, and surrounded by so many African American women. Women, both black and white, have made exceptional steps in gaining power outside of the household and challenging the roles of men. But the ratio of successful black women and successful white women is still not enough. Her prejudices against African Americans still persist, though we are not in the bondages of slavery. While serving as the president of the National Association of Colored Women, we strive to lessen the gap by joining and learning from these white women groups, such as the National Women's Suffrage Association and American Women's Suffrage Association. In coming in contact with these groups, hostility was apparent, even on the day of the Women's Suffrage Parade, 1813. I recall that the previous night, a letter came requesting that the NACW march at the back of the parade, behind the white women's groups and the white men's spectators. We had our very own Negro women section. This request seemed perfectly outrageous. Walking down Pennsylvania Avenue in the nation's capital, I was pleased to be a part of the parade, though the disgust and the continued segregation appalled me. Here come telegrams and protests pouring in, and eventually African American women marched with their state and occupation without let or hindrance. My favorite memory of the parade is watching Ida B. Wells Barnett walking amongst her majority white Illinois delegation. Not only have we gained a step in women's suffrage, but also against segregation. Oh, that parade was a message to the future, I tell you. Young men and women, look around you. Integration is here, and it is good. One of my best friends in high school was a white girl with blue eyes and a wealth of blonde hair, and my other was black. My friendship with the white girl illustrates a point which I cannot resist the temptation to stress, namely the advantages of encountering the different race at a mixed school. It helped both the white girl and the colored girl, me, to create a strong relationship with someone of a different race. No matter how strongly representatives told her that certain vices and defects were common to all colored girls, she would know that those blanket charges were not true. In my life, I've met many great men and women with the same wish to lift the black race in so many ways. One day that resonates with me was the first World Fair in 1893. There are two impressions of the World's Fair which have left a more delightful flavor in my memory than anything else. One was witnessing the great honor paid to Frederick Douglass by people of the dominant race, as well as those in his own group. The other was meeting Paul Dunbar, just as he was starting his career as a poet. Mr. Douglass was accustomed to entertaining his friends by taking them to exhibits which he favored. Following this custom, he invited me to go with him one afternoon. He was continually halted by admiring people. A mother would stop and say, "You're Frederick Douglass, aren't you? Please shake hands with my little son," or maybe daughter. Because when he grows up, I want him to say that he touched hands with the great Frederick Douglass. Following this meeting, Douglass and I worked on several civil rights campaigns. It was an honor and quite an experience to exchange concepts and ideals with Frederick. Douglass even persuaded me not to retire once I was married to my husband, Robert. He said, "Your talents require you to stay in public life." My encounters with many great African American men and women like Frederick, time as president for the NCAA, WA, work with Du Bois in the NAACP, all allow me to explore the roles of African Americans in head positions, especially women. I hope this speech today has inspired some of you to continue this exploration. Thank you all. Thank you.